Live, you gotta squish in.
Hey there, have you ever dreamed of living in an off-grid, regenerative agriculture, producing hemp-built home, private realm community? Well, yes. I'm here with the founders of Haven Village, and we're going to talk about how you can create your own private realm community, or maybe you could join us here. They're also going to be speaking at Exit and Build 6 come November, so we're going to get into that and much more on the Live Free Now show. All right, we're here live. Let us know if you can hear us just fine, friends. We're rocking and rolling all over the place. We got Insta Haven Village, Insta Live Free, and we got the Live Free Now show. So how are you guys doing today?
Great. Good.
Yeah. It's already been a busy day here at Haven Village.
We got a lot going on already here. It's just part of normal life here doing this project, right? I mean, Haven Village, it sounds like we're just living village life here, but really we're building it out right now. And so it's a lot of work.
It's an active build, as you guys call it. So guys, let us know in the comments if we're coming in. We got the mobile studio, so let me know if everything's broadcasting fine and the audio sounds good. Why don't y'all start by introducing yourselves if folks aren't familiar with you or your work, and then we'll get into what Haven Village is all about.
Yeah, so we're Imani and River, and we are the founders of this project, which we call Haven Village, and we're in East Tennessee on the Tennessee-Georgia line, and we're also the trustees of this project because this is a private residential model, and our focus is on food sovereignty and freedom, but also on building healthy hemp homes. And so River's an architect and designer, and so
world-renowned architect.
World-renowned. So his vision around the master plan and the homes that we're building specifically is his lead. So we also serve as project managers on this project for the first 5 years to really establish this initial phase, the infrastructure, and to create a scalable, duplicatable model that people can learn from and be inspired by. And so we're in it. We're like figuring it out as we go. We have a lot of resources and skills from what we've learned in our past. We came together just over 5 years ago before we got this property and had similar visions, as do many of you. And we were looking for the right land and found it here and feeling really blessed. And we've been really busy. We've been on this land for just 3 years. Actually in September when we left Texas, but we secured the land 3 years ago, July 4th.
And there's a lot that has already been built and created, and I'm blown away every time I come up here. The first time I came was July of 2025, and this will be the 5th or 6th time?
I think so. And in a year, we're setting records, John.
And there's so much growth every single time, and part of it, I think, is just this extreme grit and work ethic and big think, which I admire. So Imani mentioned, like, the goal is to prove out the model here with this 216-acre property in Tennessee, and then to replicate it and to help other people to build these models, and then to connect all these communities into some decentralized network of freedom folk that are living resiliently outside of the beast system. That's what it's all about. So let's talk a little bit more about what this actually is, right? And so it's 216 acres. It's a beautiful piece of land with a very nice, diverse topography. And what kind of structures were here when y'all acquired the place 3 years ago, and what's been built since?
Yeah, I mean, just give a little bit of background on our kind of search for the property as well, just to premise that. And thanks for doing this, and thanks for, everybody listening in. I think this is a relevant conversation right now, right? I think a lot of people are looking to find ways to exit the system and not be caught in it.
We got Journey Home Vitals on Instagram. Shout out Journey Home Vitals. Great to see y'all together. We're doing something similar in Florida on a much smaller scale. Divine Trinity and all that. Hoping to visit y'all in the next couple months. I think you emailed us in our support desk.
September will be we just finished our summer solstice. September is going to be a great time for people to come, but we will have opportunities for people to visit. We haven't up to this point, just to get back to you, River, but because people are asking, we've just set up. We're working on our campground. So those of you that have those tents and RVs and want to come and just get a tour, some of our members are here now to help out with that. And we're in a better position, not all the time because we are an active build site, but we're in a better position to host people. So we'll be letting you all know the details of that soon. So that is around the corner.
Yeah.
It's been a long
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah, exactly. And just,
Checklist.
and getting back, really, I've been in the design construction space since I left architecture school, graduated in 2022, and worked internationally and a lot residential and more on the project management side with big developments like huge hotels and resorts and stuff like that. So, really understanding how to get things done. But the difference is we're kind of building this new system out in rural areas typically, right? Because that's where we need to get back to. And that's what we were looking for. That was one of our main criteria. We were looking at what I would call depressed rural areas that are more small scale farming, not like out in the middle of Kansas where you just got thousands and thousands of acres of flatlands. We're talking, people who are growing locally for the local communities.
Small towns. Small agricultural towns.
And they've really been riddled with all kinds of problems because people have gone to the Dollar Generals and the Walmarts and it's really broken down family homesteads and family farming really in America. So it's like the resurgence and revival of that is what we're looking for. So that was one of our big criteria, is finding that kind of land.
And often those kinds of land come with not a lot of zoning restrictions, which is really important.
Yeah.
Very key.
Yeah.
Finding the right land is very, very important.
Yeah. And, so we had a checklist when we were looking for land, which was really around, somewhere that has infrastructure on the land already. So you're not just coming of a bare piece of land, which you can do it that way, but it's definitely more challenging to get on the land. And we wanted to get on the land right away, not just be at a distance and bringing in, contractors and all of that from a distance. This is really more of a hands-on thing. So we're two things going on at once. We got the village and the community side and bringing in residents and all that. And then we got the development side. So typically they don't normally merge, but in this project, that's critical. So that adds another dimension and dynamic to the project.
And complexity.
Right. And there's no zoning, there's no building regulations here except for, electrical and waste and things like that, which we really can't get around because we still want to tie into the grid. We wanted to be in a location that was secure enough. We have the national forest right on our border here. So we know there's no development that's going to happen there. And then we're positioned, we feel somewhat isolated, but we're a stone's throw away from a good sized town with all of the hardware stores and all the things we need there. And then we're like an hour away from a bigger city.
A really critical point that River's bringing up, John. I mean, I don't know if you've talked to people, but when we were going around before we found the land and doing land visits with people that were purchasing land and wanted a master plan with River, like you guys, was that the location sometimes was so remote that even just going to get materials was like an hour drive each way, and the roads might be like, like challenging. So if you're somewhere so remote, it can be an obstacle as well if you don't have a lot of access.
And then obviously if you're close to big cities and stuff, you might feel you're in an agricultural area, but that jurisdiction tends to spread and spread and spread. And before you know it, you're already in that ETJ, right? The extra territorial jurisdiction gets consumed by the city, and then all kinds of regulations come in. So that's key. When you're looking for land, just know that before you even start deciding on a piece of land.
There's a balance between distance and proximity. And you also want to focus on, like, how do you want your lifestyle to be? Because sometimes we want to go further, like Imani was saying, but then it becomes impractical and we spend a ton of time driving, and there are very few neighbors. We want to be away from the bulk of the population, but we also want to connect with neighbors. So, we moved out. I'm in Bastrop now, and it's about 45 minutes from downtown Austin. And it's not going to be my forever home, but I can now feel the encroachment in large part because of the Elon effect, as I call it, with all his X and data centers and big Tesla factory, which is in eastern Travis County and then in western Bastrop. And now there's flock cameras starting to spread in Bastrop. And but it's still the case that my family's there, and there's entertainment and nice restaurants that I still like to enjoy from time to time. So I think 45 minutes to an hour and a half is a good range. And then ideally you anchor near a small town, not anchor near to a major city center.
Right. Like we're an hour from Chattanooga, an hour and a half from Knoxville and 2 hours from Atlanta.
Yeah, and the biggest city is Chattanooga, which isn't some crazy metropolis. But then you have Cleveland, which has a lot of stores, and that's where you can go to the shop and stuff. So it's situated in a great spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then we're on the border of Georgia, so we're at the end of the power line, and these things a lot of people don't really think about, but that typically they have jurisdiction where their power lines are. So if there's a development that starts happening beyond you of 1,000 homes, they're going to make them power lines bigger. They're going to put bigger towers in on your property. Here, we literally have the last pole on our property, and the border is Georgia, so no one's building beyond us under this jurisdiction of the electric company.
Surrounded by the Cherokee National Forest and that end, so that we know we have a buffer.
It's a prime spot.
That was another important thing, is to be buffered. That also we were looking for something where there wasn't going to be like cell phone towers put up, because that you can buy a pretty decent sized property and then your neighbor, whatever, gets these power. We saw that a lot in Texas actually, and so you can't control it even if you have like your 10 acres or 20 acres. Here, the 200 acres is a really good buffer, but we also, the thing with the forest and what we were saying about the electric, those were all things that we were looking at and thinking about.
Let's talk about structures. So the first thing that y'all built was the outhouse, right?
Yeah. We
the
needed
compost toilet.
Compost toilet.
So when we came to the land, there was the previous land steward was really on the same page in many respects with us. That was the great thing. And it was the way the land came to us wasn't traditional routes, actually. It was actually through a Facebook post that one of our members saw and kind of gently kind of nudged it in our direction. It didn't even look like it was for sale.
It wasn't for sale. They just wanted someone to
manage it. Anyway, so that relationship developed over 4 or 5 months, and then we met, and then we came to the land, and we pretty much fell in love with it straight away. Then I came back and walked the land a lot, spent a couple of weeks here and really meditated, walked the land, felt into the possibilities here.
But so just to answer your question, it was a farm. So we had a barn, and there was a lot of infrastructure, because he was actually on the same page with regenerative practices. So he was over 15 years ago, was a single dad with his 2-year-old son, came here. He was selling organic eggs at the market, and he was raising pigs that he would go sell at Mean Street Meats, which is our favorite restaurant butcher shop in Chattanooga. So he was one of the first suppliers of that. And then he obviously had cattle on the land, but he had worked with the Department of Ag and got in all of the mob grazing, like irrigation systems and fencing. So we have a lot of cleared pasture areas with fencing, with irrigation, and that infrastructure has been key for us around the food sovereignty piece of things, for sure. So barn, hoop house structures that were overgrown with poison ivy. We brought in the goats.
I love poison ivy.
And then we had what he started as a commercial kitchen. They had changed the code so he couldn't do the sausage he was planning, and that's kind of where he threw up his hands, and then had other people come in, like a sourdough bread company, and they had some teachers living here when we were here. So it was there was definitely a lot of infrastructure around the food stuff, like having a walk-in cooler. You see how valuable that is. And we've just upgraded the commercial kitchen to be our community's very commercial homestead kitchen. And then this space was his, like a cabin that we've turned into our office space, and soon to be Hemp recording studio. We'll be doing future podcasts. So there was with that infrastructure, and then we added a lot, because River's idea was that we needed to have like a base camp where we could have people living, because at that point maybe a couple people could be living on this huge land, but not much more comfortably.
So y'all spun up some yurts.
Yeah. I mean, that was, I know Imani said in the beginning that, we're just, making it up as we go along. We definitely had a strategy of intent of how we would do this.
I didn't say we were making.
Well, you said,
we're
figuring it out as we go.
Figuring it out as we go.
It's both. It's both.
We pivot every single day.
No, I do, but I think
we have a plan.
Okay, but that's not a good understanding of what we're doing. Actually,
we have a very specific plan.
We have a plan. I created a master plan even before we moved to the land, and we work with Vastu consultants on the energetics of the land, the flow of things, good orientations, where the best places to build, things like that. And of course, then you come to the land and you're doing it and you're building it out. you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to adjust things a little bit. You learn more about the land when you do soil testing and the percolation. So you maybe have to shift things a little bit. So there's been a lot of that. And for a lot of people that feels like, oh my God, it's always changing. But if you've been in construction, this is just a normal day in construction. If people think construction is linear, they've never been in the industry. Because you need to flow with it, especially when you're doing, something like this where, we're really dealing with the elements. We're in a natural setting. We're not like in a city where it's all hard ground. You bring cranes in, you bring big trucks in. And here we got to deal with the rain. We got to deal with trucks. I've got a team over there right now working on one of our sites for the build. We're bringing in a precast wall system for the foundation with a walkout basement. And that's great. And it provides a future, addition to the home that they can fit out later, as well as having the hemp home on the main floor. But the challenges with that is that we need to bring in big cranes to move these pieces around. We need, huge trucks to come in. So that requires a whole next level of site and prep that you wouldn't normally have to do. And so there's just so many components to it that need to be thought through. And I think having the strategy is important on the build side of it. And then obviously there's all the other strategies we have in terms of the structure we put this within and all of that, which is why John's here.
There's a lot of strategies.
Lots of
a lot of thinking and a lot of action. And it is balance, right? Because a lot of people, they just overthink. They endlessly overthink.
I've got to just call my contractor because he's over there. He just called. I'll be back in 1 minute.
It's an active build site. So yeah, I think there's a balance between action and then planning. And the important thing is for folks not just to stay stuck in the planning. And I think people do that often because there's a comfort in planning, or really sometimes folks have discomfort in the action. And I think River and Imani are just used to the discomfort. I'm used to discomfort too. But when I come up here, I'm like, damn, I need to get used to this level of discomfort, because Imani's a beast. She's our resident beast boss that keeps things going, which
I like schedules,
which is extremely valuable. So yeah, let's talk about the private model, right? So there's some yurts that got built, and then they built some glamping cabins, and then there's a beautiful custom like luxury hemp home, not like some scrappy earthen home that a lot of communities build and then they fall apart. What? That's a thing. But this is nice. This is really nice. And then there's another hemp home that's being built, and there's one that's built, and then there's another one currently being built, right? So
she built the tiny home that we brought from Texas,
and a hemp tiny home.
And then River's in design process with about 5 of our other residential members on the custom homes. And then he's working on this design, which is more of a studio cabin, which would be one design, kind of that there's not the options to do the custom homes obviously are a lot more involved in longer timeline and more costs. So we're just trying to find a variety of ways to get people to land
in nice homes.
Healthy homes,
healthy hemp homes. A lot of people don't realize that our houses are unhealthy, and we spend so much of our time in them. It's wild. Okay, so that's the structure. There's all sorts of gardens and permaculture food forests. That's like on the land structure. And then there's an underlying structure that helps to steward the resources. It helps with the relationships amongst the people. And then it helps us tap into the spiritual component of this work, which is really the foundation of the entire project. And if you're part of this freedom movement, that's the foundation of everything that we're doing. It's a spiritual effort, right? And so that structure is called the trifecta. There's 3 pieces to the trifecta, and you can use this structure. It's a private realm structure. So we're building the organization within what's known as the private realm, which is in contrast to the public realm. It's divine law, it's natural law, it's people relating to one another, grounded in trust and grounded in mutual respect and freedom. And then on the other hand, with the man-made law and the statutory law and the constantly changing law and having to ask permission and follow all these stupid rules and give money to satanic pedophiles, that's the other side, right? We don't much prefer to give money to satanic pedophiles for them to use it to enslave us. We want to move away from that. And there's structures where you can go about life. You could do business, you can manage your affairs, or you could build a community. So this trifecta structure works for pursuing your mission. It works for shifting your business. It works for succession planning with your family and leaving a legacy that's protected. And it especially is optimal for this type of community development. So the land, it's three pieces: a trust, private membership association, and it's all under the protection of a ministry. And so in the context of this project or other land projects, if people do something similar, the land is stewarded by a trust. So the deed to the land is in the trust, right? It's held by a trust. And the trust is made up of three parties. All a trust is a contract with three parties, which has a specific purpose. One party is the grantor. They create the trust, placing resources into the trust corpus, the body of the trust. That could be gold. It could be a business. It could be stocks. It could be crypto. It could be land. It could be a house. And those resources are stewarded by trustees. So grantor creates the trust. Trustees steward said resources. And it all happens for the benefit of beneficiaries, the third role. And that's what a trust is. It could take all sorts of different forms. Most commonly, it's a parent that places resources or assets into the trust, and a third-party trustee manages it for the benefit of the children. But in this context, the trustees, you're looking at them right here. These are the core trustees. I'm a successor trustee. The beneficiaries, and then the land is held in the trust, and a lot of the shared assets and the shared communal area, right? And then the beneficiaries are the residents. They're the folks, or they're the village members.
Yeah.
Right.
The village members are the beneficiaries. And so there's this unique thing too, where there's layers of trust with this project. You don't have to take it that far.
And different forms of membership.
And different forms of memberships. And so for folks that acquire a lot, they then become a beneficiary, and they don't hold their deed because the trust holds the deed, but they hold what's called a unit of beneficial interest, which gives them the exclusive rights to enjoy that given area, which is their lot. So that's how the land stewardship model takes place.
And right to build structures on it.
And there's all sorts of benefits to this. Chief among them is that we're not like owning something or controlling something. It shifts the dynamic into that of a steward of God's creation. Which is a very humbling thing, especially when you have this big piece of land, or you're dealing with the elements or the poison ivy or whatever, or like rivers managing the moving of earth. It can be a very humbling
simultaneously
thing.
right now.
Yeah, right now. And so that's the land piece. And another benefit is that if somebody were to be sued, for example, and then like a judgment's issued against them, and they're one of the lot holders, then they can't come after that lot because they don't actually own, quote unquote, that lot. So there's all sorts of protection that's involved. Layers of protection. And then there's a PMA, a private membership association. So all of the village members are a certain level of membership. And then anybody that comes out here for a workshop, because they also operate a private realm trade school, which is pretty cool, which they'll build the homes or come do like resiliency, food production kind of stuff. They all become members as well. And when you become a member, you sign a member agreement and you agree that we're going to handle our affairs in the private realm. This isn't under the jurisdiction of the state of Tennessee. If there's any conflict, there's a dispute resolution mechanism, and we're not going to involve the government. That's all something everybody agrees to. And there's an expectation that you're going to honor those agreements. So there's a PMA component. And then the ministry component is like the spiritual protection, reconnecting with the land, fulfilling our divine purpose as stewards of this green earth. And here at Haven Village, there's even a hemp temple, a hemple, where we go in for prayer and meditation and connecting deeper with source. And really beautiful transformational stuff happens when people come out here, especially for these more in-depth retreat style immersions that we do for prospective members. But people coming out to the land, it's very healing, getting their hands dirty. It's also work, which is a spiritual practice too. And then when
I like that.
Yeah. And then when we gather in the Hemple, it's like all this stuff comes up for people, especially for people that aren't used to this kind of work or relating to other freedom people or like immersed in this world like we are.
When they're on the land, and then it Yeah.
Yeah, and then it really
synthesizes
just
in the hemp oil.
yeah, and people are like crying and stuff, and so there's a lot of power in this way of doing things, and then there's a lot of power and protection and purpose, triple P, in this structure. And again, people can use this structure for various undertakings, business, life, succession planning, and especially these types of developments. We actually did a webinar. If anybody wants to learn more about this, divinepma.com/webinar is the website. divinepma.com/webinar. Shout out Otto Gomes in the house. Thanks everybody for tuning in on Instagram. Share this live if you can. I don't even know if you can do that on Instagram. And
We
shout
really
out to
don't
the
know how to
folks.
use Instagram.
Yeah, we're just Imani's like, we should stream to Instagram too. So we're streaming on the Haven Village channel and also on my Live Free
Actually, I think
channel.
we're on the Haven Earth Trade School, and then we'll put. I tried to do both, but
and shout out to the folks tuned in to the various YouTubes as well. So we're going to keep talking. I want to invite folks, if you have any questions about the project in general or the private realm specifically, ask them there in the chats. We're keeping an eye on the chat and we're keeping the conversation going. So let's talk about a little bit more about what it means to be a steward as opposed to owning, which is something I struggled with. And I struggled with this whole private realm thing for a while too. And I wanted to do the more traditional Reg C, SEC approved investment, whatever the heck. And River's like, you got to be careful, John, because you take people's money. They have expectations. They're not in it for the mission or the purpose. They're just in it to make money. You got to watch out for that.
And that's how I sound, apparently.
We do this on every live. But these two really helped me to come along and understand, you know, the purpose and the magic of being a steward of land. So you guys want to share about that?
Yeah, it's a big one, right? It's not something that's in our general lexicon of understanding language or anything. We're in such a contractually based system from the time we're born, so it's so compartmentalized. And you know, I'm from the UK, so it's an extreme in that way in many respects. In the US, there's definitely more sense of freedom and entrepreneurship, but I think this is yeah, and I think this is something. There's two parts for me. There's one, there's this stewarding bit, and then two, there's the freedom bit, and they're not necessarily synonymous, I don't think. Maybe not the way we think about freedom. And I think that's what I try to explain to people when they come, because we have a lot of ideas about what freedom is. And we throw around the word freedom a lot, like it's everybody understands it in exactly the same way. But maybe freedom is just, you know, to not be controlled by the government. But actually, a lot of the things which make us not feel free have got nothing to do with the government. So there's like, how do we free ourselves from our own chains that we create for ourselves? And I think especially in the Western world, but it's definitely spread around the world, is we think freedom is to do with stuff and owning things and having and accumulating these things. And what I try to explain to people when they come, because we've kind of gone through this process and we've gone through quite a lot here, and people coming in with these ideas about things.
You're going to do the boat story?
Lots
Yeah.
of
I know a lot of his repertoire of stories and lessons. But it's good. It's good.
Yeah, but, you know, then, you know, not naming anybody, but we had a family coming here who were really, really interested to be part of what we're doing. And their big thing was that they had a lot of stuff. You know, his profession, he had access to get a lot of things at great prices and on all this. So he had a good sized boat, he had trailers, he had all these different things, you know, and some of it's really useful, obviously, right? And then some of it's just around an idea of what freedom is. And so I say to people, like, you know, we have this idea about boating makes us free, right? So we want to buy a boat, but as soon as we buy a boat, then the thing that we thought was going to make us feel free now is actually hooked us in and generally trapped us, because normally you're financing it, You got to maintain it. You got to store it. You've got to have a trailer for it. You got all these things that come with that, that for using that boat a handful of times a year, it just starts getting tiring, and people tend to not keep them. They end up selling them. They sit around in the yard for a while and they end up selling it. So really it's like when we peel it back, what we want is to be able to go boating and have, and in America, we just want to have it to do it whenever we want to do it. So that's why we buy it. We don't want to go rent it because, you know, that doesn't feel as free. Maybe if we own it now, I'm free. I can do whenever I want. I can go boating 3 times a year, you know? And so the things that typically we feel make us free are actually the things that trap us. So it's when we come back to land in this decentralized ownership model where we have an ability to share and steward things together. The idea of going boating can be a shared dream and can be a shared responsibility too. And so instead of financing a boat, maybe 10 people in the community go in and they buy a boat, and then storing it's a lot easier. Maintaining it is spread out between 10 people and all these things. And then, you know, you just figure it out when you want to go boating, and you have a little strategy about who boats when and all that kind of thing. And so that for me kind of summed it up a little bit in terms of, you know, okay, we need to deprogram somewhat to be able to come back to the land. It's not just the strategy of how we do it on the land, but it's like, how do we deprogram ourselves, unschool ourselves, right? To be able to meet the new lifestyle that we're going to be living, co-living kind of situation. And then, you know, then that I feel that kind of naturally leads toward a stewardship mentality. Because we're not thinking about it like, oh, I own this. It's like you're stewarding it for more people. You're stewarding it for a bigger goal, for the future. Like we're stewarding this land for our children too, and for all these other people, and they're stewarding it for their kids too, and the generations to come. It's a legacy that this is, you know, we're not only just creating a community to weather the storm, we're actually rebuilding our societies again. And these are just the seeds of this new society that we're creating, that we're and it's happening all over the place. You know, every time we do a live, there's somebody else. There's other people who are, oh, I'm doing a similar thing. I'm doing this. It's going to grow and exponentially become more normalized, I think. And so the stewardship for me is really kind of like getting out of my own way a little bit to look at what's the best way to do things, always looking at it through the lens of the collective, rather than, you know, people come in and they're like, oh, I'm designing my house, and they get like this, and, you know, this is what I want and I need and all of that. And I definitely help them to peel back a lot of that and let go a lot of that. There's a beauty of being on the land. Maybe you don't need 3,000 square foot house now. You're not living in the suburbs. Maybe 1,500 square foot's more than enough, because your life's connected to the nature. You're sharing storage. You have shared other things and other areas on the land, a workshop space that we can share together, tools that we can chip in and have and share. So there's a lot that I feel in that package of, you know, wanting freedom and being free and having that responsibility of being a steward and not just thinking about yourself.
Yeah, and that's been coming up too, just in life in general, in experience here. Like a lot of people come in to the fray, and it's like a me. How is this going to benefit me? Mm-hmm. And I would say this about the Freedom Cell Network too. It's a joke, and it works with Haven Village also. Mm-hmm. So I'll use it, and I'll put it in the Haven Village context. Ask not what Haven Village can do for you, but what you can do for Haven Village. And so, yeah, that's another American Western thing too, the selfishness. And I always point out, like, it's okay to act from self-interest. Like, that's part of human nature, to want to maintain and to self-preserve, right? And the whole Ayn Rand objectivism thing, even when people are selfless or giving or charitable, it still feels good, right? So there's also an element of it benefits me still. But like, one thing that my Christianity has helped point me deeper towards is being more selfless and showing up for others and helping other people. And whenever there's something that's like big, I wanted to bring up Big Think earlier because you were mentioning like a replicatable model. You know, a lot of people are like, let's just do this thing and then that's it. It's the end of the destination. It's the end of the journey. We build a property for ourselves, but we're thinking in terms of like, how can we build it, prove it out, turn it into a template, and then help spread it elsewhere, whether we're building another one or whether we're helping someone else to build another one in this likeness. Like it's a big, big, big thing. And I think one of the things that helps people to get beyond their own self-centeredness, which is a journey that I've been on, is like being a part of something that's bigger than them. And then transcending even like, okay, well, it's not just about us here and some of the future members that are coming in the next couple years. And we're going to be here for many years while we're alive. It's even beyond that. It's like, well, what's going to happen with the land and how can we set it up in a way so that it maintains that same mission and we protect the mission and the land into the future generations. And then beyond that, it's like, well, then what happens to this entire mission and movement that we're all a part of, this whole exit and build thing? It's like bigger, it's a bigger thing. And so you come into something like that. And if you humble yourself, you're like, whoa, this is a big deal. I want to contribute to something that's bigger than me. And then to get back to how, you know, it's like, well, then I can, my life on this planet, a finite period, can live on through the legacy that I leave through my life. That's something that's big and important too. So
yeah, I love
kind of rambling on that, but well, you see that it's all about balance. You know, it's like planning versus action. Sometimes the planning gets in the way of taking action. Sometimes you plan, but you just got to lean back into the action. I was just talking with Ryan about some Live Free Academy stuff. Like we need to make a decision on this, but we want to have it in a more of a grounded way and get some more inputs first and analyze, but maybe we should just make the damn decision and we'll figure it out later. It's a balance, just the same. It's people come into the space and there's this balance between, well, I do need to look out for myself and I did work and I'm putting some money into something and I want to make sure that I'm stewarding my money and all the hard work I've done in my life. And then at the same time, I need to be caring about the project as a whole and about the land and about the mission. So
yeah, I think you bring up a really good point, and I love that. And that's actually why you coming in as the successor trustee this past year is a really beautiful timing, because this is really your work to help people do this exit and build, you know, thing, and then having a model like Haven Village to show that in action. So that, and just to be clear, we're not at a point where we're helping people do that now. We're inspiring and motivating people, but we're getting it done so that we can do that. I mean, we are talking about in the future in ways that we can start sharing in some ways, but it doesn't mean we're going to come and start building wherever you are. So please don't reach out and ask us to come build hemp houses and wherever you are. but it doesn't mean that you can't come here and learn and even learn how to build a hemp house. But there will be things that kind of evolve out of this. And I think that it's a balance when people come here. Most of the people that end up being residential members are doing it because of something bigger. They do obviously want their own house, and that's fine. But if we were to build everybody's dream house and have a few people dominate and take over all of River's time and energy just to build their house and then not get houses built for anyone else, it wouldn't work, right? So there's got to be this awareness of the collective. And so, you know, we kind of see ourselves as more of like a, you know, a village, like a functioning, healthy village, not, you know, so as far as a development, some kind of agri-hood kind of model where you're around a farm and there's, you know, most of the people here want to be involved at some level. It doesn't mean everybody has to work and do what we're doing or do the same, but the participation is a really big part of it. Someone asked a question earlier, she's still on, but yes, as far as anything that you may have received from us, like last year, even probably 3 months ago, things are constantly changing and pivoting and expanding. And so the way that our membership works is it's kind of we have a vetting process and where we get to know each other. So it's not like it's something that's happening all at once. We knew it would be a gradual thing. So we had spots open 10 for the first year, 10 second, 10 third. And so we're a pretty small village, really. We see 40 residences, 150 people is kind of like the range that we're looking at that this land can hold. And so we know that there's, as more and more people find out about us, that we want to have that be available. So it's not like everybody became a member right in the beginning. So we will have our last immersion for potential residential members for September, coming in September, and that's something that people can apply for. And we have a few spots for that left. And then we'll be putting a pause on residential membership until next spring. And then we'll see where we're at. We also are looking at a balance of different groups of people, families, couples with children older, like, where our age range is. And then people that are in their, wiser elder years. So there's a whole strategy that's going into all of that aspect of things. It's not just that you have the money to come and be here. You do have to have the money to come and be here, but that's not the only requirement.
Yeah, and we are seeking more families with children to help, because when you think about stewarding this, a lot of people in our movement tend to be older. There's a tendency towards older, at least in the Live Free Academy tribe of this movement. And so you can't have a sustainable project that lives on into the future unless there's children involved. So there are some children and some teens that are members, and we're seeking more of that. And one thing that came up for me earlier with the whole Exit and Build thing, right? Which, by the way, folks, Exit and Build 6 is coming up November 5th through the 8th at Molly Englehart's Sovereignty Ranch. Another great physical space where you can see Exit and Build philosophy and strategy in action with their regenerative agriculture and the restaurant that they have on site, which you can pay for your food with cryptocurrency, with gold backs, with Zano, our good friends over at Zano, with precious metals, which is pretty cool. And then there's going to be a whole tribe of folks gathering. We're expecting hundreds of people for that. Soul Expression is watching, and Tinsy, they're going to be there and performing as well. So shout out to them out of Austin, Texas.
The dates for that?
The dates are November 5th to the 8th. River and Imani are speaking. Glenn Meter, Alex Zeck, Curtis Stone, Doug and Stacy from the Off Grid with Doug and Stacy channel, a whole slew of folks. It's November 5th to the 8th. Awesome. Exitandbuild.com is the website. It's going to be the biggest and best and most impactful Exit and Build yet. Exitandbuild.com is the website. But I was going to say, we talk about Exit and Build, and when you really boil it down, it's like exit the system and build new systems. And when we say exit the system, we're talking about reliance on big tech, on mega corporations, on the grocery store, on the Walmart, on government. We're talking about exiting government in general. And this private realm stuff creates just such a beautiful transition that I didn't have to speak about or to employ in my own life or be part of this project for the majority of my anarchist life, because I've been an anarchist, anti-government, voluntarist guy since 2009, really. 2009. Before that, I was more of a small L libertarian minarchist, somebody that believes we need to have a minimal government. We should reduce the size and scope of government. And then in 2004, I thought I was a Democrat because I was so opposed to the war. Either way, we talk about anarchism, and we should have society absent government and coercive hierarchical mechanisms. And a lot of people don't understand, we put this in, what that could look like. You might just unplug something. And they're like, well, that could never work. And it's because one of the reasons, and this comes from David Friedman. He's the son of Milton Friedman. He speaks at PorcFest and Free State Project events a lot. He wrote this great book about anarchism from a utilitarian perspective called The Machinery of Freedom. The Machinery of Freedom by David Friedman. And he explains a lot about anarchism and how it could work practically and why it's beneficial practically. And there was this one thing that stuck to me really for a while. And it really is like an underlying foundation of my work. I should talk about this more. It'd be a great email, actually.
Here he goes.
Let me tell the AI to put that on my email marketing list. The thing that he says was that educating people and teaching them through books and lectures and YouTube videos is one way to educate. But a more effective way is to show them by demonstration, leading by example. So what we're doing here at Haven Village is just so powerful in that it's a demonstration of what exit and build could really look like. A community growing their own food, living together in the private realm, mostly free of government intrusion. This would be great if River is here, but we can riff on it. It's not that we're completely outside of government systems altogether. And back to the trade-off theme that we've kind of been, that balance. So if you were to be completely outside of government systems and have land, that would mean you're not paying property tax and you're completely defying the local county and the state. And that puts you at risk. And what was there something we talked about earlier with the freedom? Oh, that was something I wanted to say earlier. River's like, people want freedom, so they go and get a boat. But then in all reality, it's that boat that enslaves them to debt and to the maintenance, and it takes their time. Just the same, people want freedom, so they go real far and extreme, and they're like, we're going to get a piece of land and we're not going to pay property tax because we want freedom. And then the government steps in and takes your land, or if you opt out of income tax and you do it in not a grounded, rooted, responsible way, leaning on the backs of giants that have done it before you with strategies that actually work, that could put you in literal cage, right? Often it doesn't, though, just to throw that out there, just be mindful. But either way, so it's like this dichotomy. So thankfully, when the more rural and the more friendly and small the county, the less the property tax impact even is. Maybe it's something in the future to explore the whole land patent thing. But at the moment, the property taxes aren't exorbitant. And one thing we always fall back on is we use the county services and we want the roads to be maintained. And River and Imani have a friendly relationship with the county bureaucrats. And it's not the same as it is in Travis County or even Bastrop County, where I'm from, where they're a little bit more onerous. Even some Tennessee counties that are less rural. We've heard stories of
people not too far from us that went ahead and did things without doing any of the zoning, and their builds came to a halt. So it's just, you have to really think about it. And for us, it's about building those partnerships.
Yeah. And also people are putting funds in and moving their life. And so we want to be good stewards of that. It's like responsible.
We don't want to put anything at risk.
And it's trade-offs too. So it's like, okay, couple grand a year for the entirety of the project or whatever it is. It's not anything exorbitant. Each home, few $100 a year, right? That's pretty much accurate, right?
It depends on the size, but like the house.
But just nothing crazy, nothing that's going to break the bank. So it's trade-offs. A little bit of money goes out to actually support the county. Now they probably have some bureaucracy just the same that isn't very efficient, but they also are doing a good job.
They see us as an asset to this area too.
Attracting people. Rivers working with local contractors in a friendly kind of way.
Yeah, we hire local people. We are building the local economy beyond Haven Village, and obviously looking to build our own internal economy. But I think that's a great accomplishment. I do think that's a really important point, John, that a lot of people who have this idea to go back to land, especially freedom oriented, don't consider that, and they don't develop partnerships, and they look at it.
They come in adversarial.
And there's
another Tennessee project. We won't say what it is, but they're like the whole town and county. They're like passing ordinances and even trying to work with the state legislature to change laws to rid this county, this local town, of this community project, because the way they came in was like all arrogant and adversarial. But the way that we're coming in, especially Rivers, leading a lot of those relationships, and he's been invited to speak at the Rotary Club, and he's very proud of his little Rotary Club coffee mug that they gave him. And they're like fascinated by it, And at first they didn't know what to think, but that was something.
First they thought we were a hemp grow, but then we told them we were just building houses with hemp.
And it brings up a lesson. One of my early mentors, who later turned on me actually and tried to turn everyone against me. It's happened a couple of times in my life. Anyway.
You can tell us that over dinner too.
Yeah, we're a whiskey sour. He said he had this great mantra, and it's when you're dealing with folks that aren't part of your cadre, like part of our little exit and build movement, right? When you go in, and I just brought this up today, actually, in the Confluence chat, because people were talking about Osho and the community that they were building in Oregon, and they came in extremely adversarial and tried to take over the local government. But that's not a good posture to be in. And you're actually really foolish if you think you're going to come in and take over local government, because the good old boy network in every single county in this country and other areas in the world, that good old boy network of families that maintain control and ownership over resources and politicians and political seats and Senate seats and stuff, state Senate, it's really hard to disrupt, especially some ragged freedom freaks. Anyway, the thing to do is to come in and build shared value based on shared values. And that works with all sorts of relationships with folks that don't always see eye to eye with you. Shared value based on shared values. That's a writer downer too. So what are some shared values that we have with the surrounding community? There's a reverence for hard work. There's a general tendency towards anti-authoritarianism and Washington and bureaucracy and kind of like this weird perverted liberalism, right? There's a desire to keep money within the community. There's a desire to hire from within the community, right? Those are values that we all share, whether we're here in Tennessee or not. So you come with that as the offering, and you build shared value, like let's bring some money to the area. Let's bring some development. You guys support us, look out for us. We're going to support the area. We're going to steward the land property properly. And let's do that surrounded with the values that we all agree on. And the things that we don't agree on, let's maybe not lead with all of that. And so the Osho community and this other community here in Tennessee just kind of came at it like, it doesn't matter what you think. We're going to assert our rights and our sovereignty. We got a big movement and a bunch of money, right? In the Osho's sake, I guess the other one too. So that's just something for folks that are coming into an area. The whole take over the county thing is just not a very
it's not a good use of
practical
energy.
deal. No, it's not.
You really, it's like, where are you putting your priorities? And if we're really going to build this out, I think what we hear is a lot of people just spend a lot of time talking about things. And they don't actually get things done. So I think the one thing that people have observed with us is that we do get shit done, and we do feel pressure of time. I mean, to really do it, and do it in a good way. We have a lot of things that we really feel like quality. River, having his standards as an architect, he's much more stringent on that. But I think everyone that comes here is really impressed with what we've accomplished so far in this short amount of time. And that's pretty much the main feedback we get constantly. We blew John away last year, and we've done even more since then. I think there might have been some questions, John. I don't know.
Yeah, if you have questions, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. We're going to wrap right at an hour. So ask your questions. Ideally, you ask them in all caps. We just got a bunch of comments. Here's somebody asking a question. Dogs knows 7445 from the YouTube audience asks, John Bush, question regarding your observation that most in your exit and build community tend to be older, which I am. Why do you think that is? A couple things, and specifically most in the Live Free Academy community, which is my company and new movement and this network that we created. That's like my energy, and it's attracting folks to this thing. You can be a part of it if you join our daily email newsletter, livefree.academy/newsletter. You don't have to be on the email list to be part of the community, but you ought to be. As long as you don't mind a daily email, maybe sometimes two. But and then the exit and build thing is like broader than just me. It's Derek Bros who pushes that. River and Imani, all these other influencers. Even Joel Salatin mentions exit and build now because he's been to our events, and just the idea really catches on. Curtis Stone, the great Aaron Day often uses exit and build. So it's a general solutions focused movement. And I think that would probably be still leaning towards older. And then I think I honestly have thought about this a whole lot because we're very conscious of marketing and stuff and running our business as an entrepreneur. And I study this stuff a lot. And I think there's older folks that are attracted to me because they may see like this young man that wants to help support. And it's kind of like a grandson kind of vibe. And I tend to be a gentleman for the most part until I've had a few whiskey sours. Just kidding. Still a gentleman then, just a little louder. And so I think that may be a part of it. And then other factors may be sometimes older folks have more resources and they want to protect those resources. Sometimes older folks they've already built or they've already lived a substantial portion of their life.
Experience.
And now they're like paying more attention.
And the legacy.
And they care about legacy. And then I think a lot of younger folks nowadays, unfortunately, are like struggling to make ends meet. And so even though they may be aware of all this stuff and watching YouTube videos and going down rabbit holes, they're like, all my time is dedicated towards bringing money to pay rent. And if you got kids, especially to feed my family, and you don't have a lot left over to like contemplate solutions and strategies. That's one thing I think.
That's a lot.
And then in general, I do think that a large portion of younger folks are more liberal, woke, kind of caught in a different mindset than this whole freedom oriented deal. So those are just some things. But we're welcoming every single person, and to be honest too, you would think older folks tend to have the resources and money, but there's a lot of older folks in our community, unfortunately, that didn't prepare or that had life circumstances that now they're in a tough spot as far as retirement goes. So that's one of the reasons why we try to teach side hustles and still having an abundance mindset and having a business type thinking and producing income. You can teach an old dog new tricks. And at the end of the day, something Soul Expression mentioned earlier is like, it's all a mindset game. All right. Journey Home Vital says, for those of us doing this work who are low in funds, this was I was just referencing, but are completely committed to participating in this change, are there places for us to find jobs within this movement? Yeah, for sure. I did a whole masterclass on this to make more. Well, there's one called Make More Money Masterclass and then the Money Magnet Masterclass. So you just got to really find some sort of skill offering that you can provide to the community. So a lot of making money has to do with helping people to solve problems. And the bigger problem that you solve, the more money that you can make. And at the end of the day, the mechanics tend to be the easy part. There's tons of coaches and folks teaching how to start a business, how to start a side hustle. The thing that I want to contribute to this space and this conversation is that at the end of the day, it's going to be your own limiting beliefs that hinder you the most from being able to produce more income. You got to believe in your ability to learn a new skill. You got to believe in your ability to market yourself. You got to believe and be so confident, cultivate that confidence so that you can go start a farmer's market booth or go strike up a conversation with the business when you're trying to offer their service or whatever it may be. And then you got to know it's all about persistence, right? So you keep on going. Like I had an intentional community on the 10-acre homestead that me and my ex-wife bought. And not only did the community fall apart, but my relationship fell apart. And here I am still participating, still contributing, still being part of this whole community building world as well.
And I don't know if they're talking specifically about trying here at Haven Village, because you're talking about the bigger movement. But as far as those folks, I mean, we're just at the phase in the project where resources are required to make things happen. So if people want to build a house, and that's probably the biggest challenge for people coming here, is that being in the private realm, I mean, we're not involved with banks and mortgages and all of that stuff that would be in the public realm. So for people to come and build a house here, they have to have the cash to be able to do that. So that's, as we get further down, we see there's going to be other ways once more structures are built. But right now we're in that initial phase of building out, and building things out costs money. So,
but anybody can, I mean, if you want to live in community, anybody could come together and pull, 10, 20K together. Anyone can do that, even if you're scrapping by,
right.
And buy your own piece of land with other folks, 2 to 3 acres, and live this kind of lifestyle. Again, it just comes back to folks' limiting beliefs. Right. Somebody asked, what's the difference between what you advise now and what you offered in your class with Bradley? Great question. So much love to Bradley. I still consider him a brother and have much reverence for him. We parted ways, however, in collaborating, and it was more about his association with this community in Costa Rica. I won't get into all the details, but I didn't find it to be in integrity with what I want to put forward in the world. So I started exploring, like, I still want to teach people this trust PMA ministry thing. And came to work with Michael Joseph and Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship, who were the originators. They didn't come up with trusts or PMAs or ministries, and people were doing this together in parallels, maybe even before, but they really put it out as this combined structure. They call it the trifecta. So if you want to learn more, I did a webinar, free webinar with them, divinepma.com/webinar, divinepma.com/webinar. And Michael Joseph and Daniel Mentz, who does the status correction, and then Phil Nadiri, who does equity, they're going to be there along with Shiloh and Marcia Ann. The entire Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship crew is going to be at Exit Build 6 as well. So there's going to be a lot of private realm stuff. River and Imani are going to be there hosting a space where you can come, and it'll be like those main stage speakers. We're hanging out, networking, and then there's going to be these implementation zones. So the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship guys will have one. River and Imani will have one, and it'll be like you can go and connect and learn about maybe is this I'm looking at these two properties. What do you think? And River can help share like, well, you want to watch out for this here and then this there, and there'll be opportunities to go deeper with all these folks.
This is priceless because we do have people reaching out just on properties and when it's to look at it. So to be able to have our input on a project, or if you're looking at different pieces of land, could be quite valuable.
Yeah. So when you compare price list to the cost of the ticket,
yes,
it's a no-brainer.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what you get at it and in the location. Yeah. I mean, just being on the land and people, I think this is the next evolution of the exit and build. So, you know, it's like before it was conference center. And people would show up, and
it was conference center in a rural community at least, but still, it ain't the same.
Yeah, but having it at Polyface with Joel, now at Molly's, and it's like, you know, I think that's the right home.
It's the real deal,
and I think it's people are wanting that. People are wanting more. They want more experiences on the land. And then, you know, I know we're wrapping up right now. But
a little longer if you.
I know. We're in the middle of moving a lot of dirt, and I gotta get some stuff going on. But you know, I lost my train of thought.
New evolution of exit and build on the land.
Yeah, I think that people are looking more towards what it feels like now. They were intellectualizing it. They were in their head. They were getting all that. They were on. Everyone was online all the time. COVID. They were like all these things coming in, and then they're trying to find solutions in their mind online. Now I think it's this integration period. People have really embodied. The people have really integrated. Okay, that's not getting me anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still in the same place. I still feel vulnerable. I still feel if this shit happens,
more vulnerable.
Right. I still feel if this shit happens again, where am I? I understand more, and maybe that's actually not helpful because you're even more like understand what's going to happen. Yeah. So it really is about taking action, and we had someone here who came for the weekend, and he was asking me. He said, "Oh, I watched one of your videos, and I loved it when you talked about because I was a project manager on the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Kazakhstan, in the capital city, big project, and I went and did my first natural building workshop in South Africa to build some little aircrete domes and some earth bag domes and just the whole thing. What happened after that? But I was super nervous. I was like, I knew all about construction. I've been on construction sites so long, but I was like project managing and designing and leading other people and making sure the deals are right. But I wasn't really a builder. And so I was like my little skinny architect arms, you know, and so nervous about getting there. But when I got there and there was this group of people and everybody had similar vibe, you know, like they were all like, oh, I haven't done this before. And by the end of them 2 weeks, we were like, we just built the new world. We just built new earth. And everyone was like, you should have seen the testimonials after that. Everyone was on fire. And he said that inspired him to start taking a carpentry course and doing these things. It's we get stuck in our head. And we don't think we've got the skills. We don't think we got the ability. The outside system tells us everything's so compartmentalized. You can't do it all. You've been in this little pathway. You can't change. Forget all of that. Forget about it. As soon as you get back to land, you start to put your action in place, and you just get out of your head and start just doing it. You'll learn. Experience is the best way to learn. I went to architecture school. I learned shit pretty much. Went into the real world of construction, and I learned everything in the field. Right, learned everything doing it. And you just need to do it. You can't learn it in books. You can get inspired and have
Or
some
even
ideas.
videos.
Yeah,
and they might help, but it's not going to be.
yeah.
I think
That's to motivate you.
Yeah.
The part where you're going to feel confident is when the experience, when you complete something.
right.
That's
And
why
so
that's why we have a trade school, because I want, even if they don't build their house, then they've got this confidence now.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to build in ourselves again. There's this confidence around skills and stuff. And then we feel more resilient in ourselves. And then our world around us is less scary. And then we can contribute more to community, and then we feel more whole. Like that's really where it's at.
Yeah. So this year, Excellent Build's going to be great with those components in it. I mean, it started with Joel's like really seeing this stuff in action, and a lot with this private model too is about the embodiment of it. You really have to embody it. It's not, you got to get out of your head, and you really got to just be doing things and living it. So wherever you're at on your journey, you need to take some piece of that and do something with it, not just stay on the computer watching videos, whether it's taking a beekeeping class or going and
watching
gardening,
John's great.
or but the actual doing of it is what will shift it. And we see that in the members coming here. They're still in their head. You got to get out of your head and really get into get grounded and get the action going.
It's like head to heart to hands. That'd be
There's
a cool
an email,
shirt or email or
head,
meme
heart,
or something there.
hands.
3H.
The 3H process. Okay, guys, Excellent Build November 5th to the 8th. The whole idea is to show up and take action while you're there through the implementation zones and the various workshops. So you'll bring your laptop and get set up with the Cordal node, bring your smartphone and get set up with a Edge wallet or Cake wallet, and then get your first Zano private crypto.
Oh no, I'm so stressed out.
You could bring your smartphone and it can get de-Googled. You can get a Meshtastic node set up there. You can sit with River and talk about a land design. You can sit with Imani and get some guidance on leading your team on your project and volunteers. Sit with the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship guys and come up with your private realm plan. We're hoping to get some folks out there to have like an income/side hustle kind of zone where they'll help you to put your business plan together. So definitely check that out. Exitandbuild.com is the website. November 5th through the 8th. Tickets are on discount right now. There's all sorts of bonuses. We got a bunch of incredible speakers. Exitandbuild.com. We hope to see you there live in the flesh, taking action, mixing it up with tons of freedom people. And I forgot to mention, this is actually the 250th Live Free Now show.
Wow. I feel
Really?
so special.
Who better to be on it?
Nice.
And the
My brother and sister, River and Imani here.
250th anniversary of the United States in a few
Whoa! That's right. Let's rock.
We're celebrating
Supposedly.
the 4th together.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
All right.
Nobody Tartaria stuff.
That's another
rabbit hole. Okay, very well, friends. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. If y'all are here, we're doing great shows every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central. Other content's popping out as well. If you want to learn more about the project, there's a handful of memberships that are left. We did actually put a webinar on recently.
We got to do another one updated.
Yeah, but they can still get into the fray.
You can check us out at havenearthtradeschool.net and then
divinepma.com/haven, divinepma.com/haven. The only thing is the date that we share for the immersion. That's already passed, but that'll put you in. You'll raise your hand that you're interested, or the other website is
havenearthtradeschool.net or havenvillage.net.
Rock and roll. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of the movement. Until next time, stay free.
Be brave.
Bye. Bye, everybody.